Hello everyone, my name is CCG88 and welcome to my Halloween special. I'm getting too old for trick-or-treating, I think, so I thought for Halloween I would review some scary logos, specifically those which appear in scary logo compilation videos. I've chosen 22 logos that I believe the majority of people dislike or find scary. Before we begin though, I'd like to say that I'm not really scared by that many logos anymore, but there were a few across several compilations that I did hate or find terrifying, so I have put them in here. Also, if I have talked about a logo before in my R-Release series, you won't see it here, so you're not going to find the V of Doom on here. Without further ado, let's begin. Regal Films is a Filipino film company that was founded in 1962. They're one of the most popular film companies from the Philippines. Views on this logo have changed for me a lot over the years. I originally hated it. What caught on to most people was the music. It has a really obvious horror sound to it. The animation didn't help either, as even for 1985, it looks incredibly tacky and cheesy. The zooming art is very reminiscent of the V of Doom. Would I call this frightening though? Yes, but it wouldn't scare me. If this logo is new to you, depending on what version you look at, it can range from scary to nightmarish. This is one of those logos that's trying too hard to be out of touch, but it's not very effective for me anymore. Worldvision Home Video was the home entertainment arm of Worldvision Television, which lasted from 1973 to 1999. This logo has appeared in numerous scary logo lists, but I've never really understood why. Most logo fans claim that the whoosh and the dark background get to them, but a lot of other logos have whoosh sounds and black backgrounds, so what makes this one special? Take Good Times for example. That has a whoosh, but that doesn't seem to be scary. The difference here is the environment. The whoosh does last longer on the Worldvision logo, sticking into your mind much more easily. The Good Times one has the whoosh, but it's short and has lots of other things going on. The whoosh sort of returns as the logo is about to finish, continuing with the idea of it being memorable. If this logo was used for like a year instead of 12, the opinions on it would definitely be a lot different. So, is this scary? No, and it never will be. It's honestly pretty good for 1983, and it is well liked by VHS collectors and logo fanatics. Often referred to as the Closet Killer, this was the logo Paramount TV had from 1969 to 1975, which is the television arm of the main Paramount Pictures film company. The TV part fell in 2006, but was revived in the early 2010s and continues to this day. This logo would be nothing without the music. I've never found the animation to be off-putting despite being fast-paced. This logo has 5 different music themes according to the CRG Wiki, and the infamous Closet Killer theme was used from 1969 to 1971. This is the second split rectangle logo, as it's called, as there was one before this with a yellow background. Again, it's the environment and the surroundings that have made this logo appear in people's nightmares. I don't mind red backgrounds, but people do say that the use of red mixed with the Closet Killer theme is a bundle of nightmare fuel, and to be fair, I do understand it. But what made this logo infamous was the internet. You could argue this 1960s creation wouldn't be as recognisable if the internet wasn't a thing. This logic applies with many other topics, not just within this community. We can relive memories thanks to the internet, and it's logos like this that make us remember seeing it in the 60s and 70s. It was even seen again from 1988 to 1990, and from 2012 to 2013. It also wouldn't have as many haters or fans if the internet didn't exist. I do find the theme unsettling, but not to the point that it scares me, but the animation is a no. Revue Studios was a television company founded in 1943 which would turn into Universal Television about 20 years later. I've never hated Revue. This pretty insignificant intro has never been disliked by me. I kinda like it, to be honest. To see what's behind the scenes is rather imaginative, and it is done in a decent way. It's the melody that's hated though. It's rather dramatic, I'll give it that, but it was only seen for 2 years, and I believe people who saw this in the 50s didn't mind it much. Perhaps if this logo was in colour it would be less scary to some people, but even then I wouldn't mind it. Perhaps if this logo was in colour it would be a bit less creepy to some, but does it bother me? Absolutely not. Wiess was a very small distribution company founded in 1971 and lasted until 1984. For this one, you need to put yourself in the shoes of people who lived in the 70s and 80s. Video games and arcades were insanely popular during this time, and so many people, especially kids, would hear those zapping sounds and enjoy it. This logo was used within the correct decade. If anything, it would be cool to hear across the 70s and 80s. Kids today do not have the same amount of luxury to such stuff anymore, and perhaps this logo is scary to some because they were born in the wrong generation. As a person who is into technological advancements, I really appreciate this retro style to this, even if it is corny. This logo does not scare me whatsoever. Disney Home Video is the entertainment division of Walt Disney Pictures. Many kids back in the day found this logo to be very jarring and right in your face, and as such, despised it. And I'll be honest, I don't like it either. For 1978, the animation isn't that good, and the music is way too much. This is Disney we're talking about, a company which, at this stage, was working primarily to make entertainment for children, so you would expect them to start their home video division strongly, but no. The theme that came with this would have undoubtedly frightened me if I grew up with it, and I wouldn't have liked seeing the neon Mickey on the black background. So do I find it scary? I don't now, but I would have been scared by it if I saw it as a child. Rainbow Releasing Productions is a film production company. I don't get why this exists, to be honest. This doesn't need to exist. Why couldn't they make a CGI logo? This is really disturbing. You have to stare at this creepy man for 17 seconds. The video you see actually comes from a 1971 film called A Safe Place, which could explain why it looks so grainy, but this logo debuted in 1995, 24 years after the film's release. There are two versions, this version from 1995 and this version from 2001. For the original, the text being off-center will definitely annoy some people. They did fix it with the 2001 update and the footage isn't nearly as old, but you still have that old man looking at you. Again, why couldn't they make a logo in CGI? This was 1995 we're talking about. 20th Century Fox made their first CGI logo a year before, so why couldn't this company try it out? I do find it terrible and terrifying, to be perfectly honest, but I'm more confused than scared. Palace Video was a British home video producer and distributor. 14 years of A Crooked Castle and Lightning. Fantastic. This is another logo where I dislike it more than find it scary. Palace Video usually distributed art house and horror films, so having a dark eerie logo does make sense. I don't like how fast it is. You barely have enough time to read the presents text, and for some reason it just ends on a white screen and immediately cuts to black. This is very unprofessional, as you can clearly tell, but I don't find it that scary. It might have done if I was a child, but considering they mostly distributed horror flicks, I wouldn't have seen it as a kid whatsoever. In fact, I'm questioning the Palace Video warning screen more than the actual logo. Zombastic was an American film production organisation that made only 2 films apparently. This is scary, yes, but it is done in a tremendously cheap way. Again, the films they made are horror films, so it's logical they would have a horror-like logo, but even by bad film standards, this is incredibly terrible. The jittery skull, the scream, the skull zooming in, all of it is done very gloomily and almost disenchantingly. It's annoying, but scary for first-time viewers. It's not effective on me anymore though. Colombiana de Televisión is a television broadcasting operation located in Colombia. Where do we begin with this? Okay, firstly, they still use the same style of music.
Colombiana de Televisión presentó el anterior programa.
These 4 logos have been called the Colombian fire alarm, purely based on the noise, but the first logo is the most infamous for starting this trend off. How was this used for 11 years? This logo was awful from the start, but how did it last until 1990? The music is now universal thanks to the internet, but how come no changes were made whatsoever between 1979 and 1990? I'm genuinely surprised how long this lasted, and it's kind of nice to see how Colombiana still uses a similar sound today. It's very irritating, it's poorly made, and it is frightening, especially for newcomers. Murghan is one of several dozens of scary logos from India. Indian cinema is the world's largest film industry, producing a couple of hundred films every year, which is very impressive. Thousands of films from India can be watched online now, which I think is awesome, but sometimes I come across a spine-chilling logo every once in a while. Murghan Enterprise was one of the first Indian logos I ever saw, and I instantly hated it. The animation was alright to be fair, and if it had nicer or no music at all, I'd give it a solid pass. But with that ominous melody, it's becoming a rather infamous logo in this community. There does exist a still version with some music from a sitar, which does sound alright once you get used to it. I did find this logo daunting at first, but now I kinda like it. That's not the last Indian film logo you'll see here though. I've chosen a few others. Once again, it's the music that makes this sinister. Seen on only 2 films, Tiger Productions has been seen on quite a few scary logo lists, especially those focusing on Indian logos. The logo begins immediately with the tiger's face, which is certainly off-putting. It keeps staring at you as we zoom out. I don't mind that too much though, since the tiger is pulling a normal face. The music is what gets to people the most though. It's excessively eerie and loud. I feel like this logo would be better if it was in colour. Do I find this logo fearful? A tiny bit because of the music.
Sahana bhavatu sahano bhunaktu sahaviryam करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा वद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
One of the most infamously scary logos from India comes from an old company called National Arts. The first thing that hits you is the lightning. Unlike Palace Video, the lightning begins immediately, catching you off guard. Around the 11-second mark, a man starts to speak in Telugu. Speaking in Indian logos is very common. We then see a very dilapidated lamp with candles. Candles is another common theme in Indian logos. The third typical idea here is the long length. This lasts 56 seconds. In short, everything bad in logos has been tucked shambolically into one package just for us. How lovely. I originally found this very scary, but after a while I began to find it boring. After the lightning attack, it sort of just lacks until the very end. They try and win you back with the horn sounds at the end, but I feel like they just put that in there to make sure that you're still awake. I dislike this because it's mundane, not because it's scary. But I think that's enough of India for now. What other country begins with I? Oh yeah, Italy. Fincine was a very small Italian film company which only existed for a couple of years from the 40s to the 50s. The music comes from one of the weirdest instruments ever, a theremin. I don't really know how it works, but here is a video of a man playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow on one. The logo animates okay. You wouldn't expect really amazing animation from a small Italian company from 1945, so it's actually decently made for its time. But why is the music like that? Why, out of all the instruments to use, why a theremin? It completely ruins what could have been an okay logo. I don't find it scary anymore, but if you've never seen it before, and that was your first time viewing it, I'm curious to know what you think of it. Cocinor is a long-gone French movie maker, rather infamous for having this as their third logo. Straight off the bat, I like it. It's definitely creative and it animates rather interestingly for its time. But the music, once again, ruins it. I don't really understand why the music is like that, but it is. As such, this would be placed neatly into people's bad logo lists. But this is 1957. Give it a chance. This has more animation than what Universal was using at the time, so give it some credit. I do like the effort, but the music is a no. Renaissance Pictures was founded by film director Sam Raimi in 1979, but didn't have a logo until 1994. This is their second one, by the way. Their first one was this. Anyway, going back to this second logo. I have some questions. Number 1. Does this logo make sense? Renaissance basically means a revival interest in something and was a very popular term in European art and literature from the 14th to the 16th centuries. So why is there a portrait being ripped into two? That isn't reviving anything. 2. Who is in the portrait? The Search Wiki doesn't know who it is. It might not even be a real person, it could just be made up for this logo. 3. What's with the lightning? This logo is very intense because of that, and it's sort of unnecessary. Despite all that though, I do like it. It's not a great logo, and I have no clue how it lasted until 2018, but I do like it. I think people who've not seen it before would classify it as scary, but it doesn't affect me anymore. Media Blasters is a home video company that distributes anime and such other Japanese media, founded in 1997. I don't get what's wrong with this one. I don't see why this one is scary. I've always liked it. This logo has received criticism for its cheesy and fast animation and the loud music. It used to have a scare factor rating on the COG Wiki of high, even though I wouldn't have put it any higher than a medium. Also, people have said they don't like it because it includes VHS tapes which were outdated by 2012, meaning the entire thing should have been made from the 1990s or something. VHS was still in production until 2016, and even though it dropped in popularity when DVD sales passed it in 2003, it's still popular and it brings back a lot of nostalgia. This logo is basically a nostalgic trip, and it's done in a much better way than what Media Blasters used previously. I love this logo, to be perfectly honest, and when it appeared in scary logo lists, I always smiled because of it. I don't find it frightening one bit. Ghost House Pictures is a horror film production company established in 2002. This is one of two logos from the company, at least according to the COG Wiki. The other one, introduced in 2009, looks like this. Out of the two, the 2004 logo seems scarier because of the door slam and the immediate appearance of the skull. Both are corny in their own ways. The skull zooms out inconsistently compared to the door, and here it's pretty obvious how this is cheesy. Seeing this in the cinema would frighten some people without a doubt, but it's suitable and intentional considering Ghost House produces slasher flicks. I've not got a problem with it. There's another intentionally scary logo that goes further above the line than this. I am on about Dark Castle. Oh boy, Dark Castle. Where do we start with you? I've always been scared by this logo. It's very fitting considering Dark Castle focuses on horror films, but if anything, it's just going to make their viewer turn away. Now that I've researched it, it seems that their films would turn away horror fans. Here is a line graph I made showing the average Rotten Tomatoes score rating of all of their films every 2 years. Even though this is an average, you can clearly tell most of their films are terrible. Their highest rated film has a rating of 75%, whilst the lowest is 0%. Critics say their flicks are boring and uninteresting or try too hard at being scary. With this information, we can conclude that most of the time, the logo before a film is going to be the scariest part about the entire film. That being said, maybe this logo is trying too hard as well. It's like they're attempting to persuade horror fans that their movies are great by scaring their skin off with this introduction. Dark also has slowed down in recent years, almost like this logo is becoming obsolete. I still hate it, and I still find it scary, but it's probably the best thing about most of their films. Oh god, Klasky-Csupo. They were founded in 1982 and for 10 years they used this as their logo. I hate it. Why? Because of how much it's been exploited and used across the internet. Many people have featured this incompetent mess in their videos, remixing it left, right and centre. It's everywhere and it's honestly driving me insane. I don't find it scary, not one bit, but can people just calm down over this, just for a little bit? That being said, it's not as bad as say what I've placed at number 21 today. I don't want to go through this one, but I shall. Regarded as the first scary logo to be made, the Oz Film Company was a very short-lived film studio focusing on making Oz films based on the book series written by L. Frank Baum. They only made 5 feature-length films and 5 shorts, but only 3 of their full films were available to watch online. Everything else is either lost or preserved by private collectors, unwilling to put it on the web. And with this logo being a thing, I'm glad only 3 films exist. I despise this. I've always found it too terrifying, and I don't think I'll ever get over it. It's just creepy how the woman, which is the actress Vivian Reed, just stares at you as she slowly moves her head and nods. If it wasn't for the internet, I don't think anyone would understand that this is their logo. It does have the Oz symbol on her forehead, but I'm too disturbed by the rest of it to notice that. And that Oz thing is the only part that shows it's a logo. Also, why is there no good music? The most notable theme that this logo has is this one, which not only ruins it further, but also makes it scarier, and I've never been able to sit through this logo without looking away at that face. Do I find it alarming and ghostly? Of course I do, and when you consider that I've been a fan of logos for 4 years, that's really saying something. Let's just get this video done and over with. Here's the final logo for this video. Was this what you were expecting? This is VID, a Russian television network famous for using this for 12 years and continuing to use a mask in 2019. They changed their name to VI Digital in 2017. I didn't like this logo at first. I hated the look of the mask, but after a few years I began to like it. It's overused again like Klasky-Csupo, and it has been featured in many bad logo lists, so me placing it here is no surprise. VID in general has become a famous and well-respected television channel in Russia, and I think it's because of this mask. What makes this better than Klasky-Csupo is that there are more versions and it's gathered a cult following in Russia. VID themselves mocked it with the April Fool's version they made. Out of all the emblems I've featured in today's video, this one is my favourite. I'm sure many people have seen this logo before, so it won't be new to you, but if it is new to you, let me know what you think. And that is all. For reference, here are all the logos I talked about. If they're green, I like them or they don't petrify me, and if they're red, I hate them or they do scare me. Now before we end, if you're expecting Screen Gems to be on here, I didn't talk about it here because I already talked about it elsewhere in J Productions' It's Not Scary episode 2. He recently got a 300 subscribers, so go subscribe to him if you want. Also, huge shout out to Nintendo Guy or NG. He's a good friend of mine who hasn't received a shout out from me yet. He made a scary logos list on his channel too, so if you want more logos in your life, check his video out. I'll leave a link in the description to both his channel and Jay's channel. That's about it from me. I hope you all had a lovely Halloween, and I shall see you all in November. Goodbye!